Oh, hi. What are you doing out in this mess? I'm Chris Carbaugh, and I'm joined by,
Stacy Lee.
and this is Finding Friday, on location of the Friday the 13th films. Let's begin with the original Friday the 13th, 1980. Here is the opening scene of the movie, Camp Crystal Lake, 1958. All the camp scenes in the movie were filmed at Camp Nobi Bosco in Hardwick County, New Jersey. This is the main cabin. And this is a shot of what the main cabin looks like today, and you can actually see the original totem pole that the camp still has yet. In this next scene, it appears that the counselors are sitting in front of the fireplace in the main cabin, but actually, this fireplace is located in the dining hall, which is across the camp. They are two very similar looking fireplaces, so if you didn't know the location, you wouldn't be able to tell that this wasn't actually the fireplace in the main cabin.
So here we have Barry and Claudette. They're in the building called the Quartermaster. As you can see, there it is today. There's the steps leading upstairs. This is the building from the outside, the sliding doors that they enter from. This is Mrs. V's point of view angle up the stairs. And these are the stairs today, looking pretty much the same. Here's Barry about to meet his demise. And that was shot just past the top of the stairs as you enter the building.
Now we see the shot of the town, which is actually Blairstown, New Jersey, the spot where Annie starts her journey. Actress Robbie Morgan, who plays Annie, reenacts her walk across the bridge. Annie is seen walking through the arches, and here are the arches today. Annie walks out of the second arch. Here we are having a little bit of fun at the arches. Here's Annie recreating her walk through the arches. A few blocks away, you can see the scene where the gas pumps were shot. The gas pumps are no longer there now, but the tanks are actually still underground from where the pumps were. If you look at this shot, you can see the house in the background, so you can match it up exactly where it was shot.
Annie continues her walk into town. As Robbie enters the cafe, we now move to Hope, New Jersey, where the interior is filmed. And as you can see through the window, the same house is there to line that up. It is now an antique store, and Annie came back in full costume to revisit. 40 years later, Annie reenacts one of her famous lines.
Excuse me. How far is Camp Crystal Lake from here?
Here we have Annie and Enos coming around the corner, about to encounter Crazy Ralph. Here's that corner today. Right outside of town, Enos and Annie are going to drive over a small bridge. And here's that bridge today. Mike Barone went back a couple weeks ago and took a really good shot of this for us. Enos is going to drop Annie off at this corner. And here's that corner today, also located in Hope, New Jersey.
Here we see Jack, Marcy, and Ned driving to camp. This is actually the road that you would use if you were traveling from Blairstown to the camp area. You can see they pass the lake on the way to camp, and the lake pretty much looks the same today. They approach the camp and pull in. You can see the Camp Crystal Lake sign above, and that's actually a Camp Nobi Bosco sign. And here is the legendary shot of the Welcome to Camp Crystal Lake sign we all know and love. That would have been right in that area where you see the Camp Nobi Bosco sign now. And this was a glorious 40th anniversary reunion that the cast did in 2019, where they actually all went back to camp and got to spend some time with each other.
And we have Steve Christie chopping wood right outside of the main cabin. And this is the road right there. The main cabin would be to the right, and Steve Christie would have been chopping wood right on the right-hand side. As they pull in, they're driving down towards the main cabin and towards the lake. This is that road now. Main cabin is to the left. Lake would be to our right. Alice is putting up the gutter on a cabin. And that cabin no longer exists, so Adrienne decided to reenact putting up that gutter herself. Brenda's setting up the archery range. And there's the archery range today. Nettie's firing his trick shot. There's the targets today. And now Chris is trying his trick shot. It's even better. Robbie's hitchhiking, waiting to be picked up to go to camp. And there she is, hitchhiking in the same spot, same outfit, looking pretty much the same today.
Now we see the campers on the lake. Here's a very similar shot where you can see the rafts have been replaced now. They actually cut up the old rafts and made them into souvenirs. Alice and Bill enter Alice's cabin looking for the snake. And this would be the view as you walk inside the cabin. This is actually the mechanics lodge at Novi Bosco. Who are you people? Officer Dorff approaches the kids. This would have been the area that Officer Dorff drove down the hill. And then he goes to turn around. And you can see the lake right in the background.
Here Alice is about to enter the pantry. And that is the door to the pantry. That was actually built for the movie. This is actually just an exit to the main cabin out of the kitchen area. I think we just met Ralph. This is the doorway between the kitchen area of the main cabin and the living area. And there we have the door to the main cabin. The doorway would have been off to the left there. Down in the right corner there, those are Adrienne's screen-used boots that she wore during filming. And this was Adrienne's first time back to camp, so it was a little sleepover in the main cabin, having a little fun. Adrienne comes to the door of the main cabin, and there's a shot of the main cabin. That's the door that she would have held open there. Crazy Ralph takes his little journey away, which actually leads nowhere. And there's that road he would have rode his bike out. Jack and Marcy enter their cabin. And here's Jack and Marcy's cabin now. The bunk actually would have been along the back wall there to your left, opposite direction, horizontally. There's a front shot of Jack and Marcy's cabin. Here they are sitting around the fireplace in the main cabin. Bill's playing the guitar. And there is that same fireplace in the main cabin. Monopoly board is all ready to go. This is the shower house. Marcy's going to come around the corner there. And as you can see from the front, there's the double doors that she would have entered to enter the bathroom there. It's the window. It looks outside of the bathrooms there. You can see the stalls. And there are those windows today. Marcy opens up the door to go into the shower portion of the bathroom. And that was actually built in this cabin here. The bathroom was a set only. And here we have a video of Janine reenacting her best Marcy line. Camp actually recreated this bathroom for the tours, which ended up looking awesome.
It must be my imagination.
And now we move to the Blairstown Diner. You can see Stacy standing in front of the diner there, and if you look at the top, you can actually see those letters from the diner sign, but they have since been removed. Steve Christie has some coffee and pie. And I'm there having some not coffee and pie. This is Brenda sitting inside her cabin. Here's a shot of the inside of Brenda's cabin now. See Brenda's bed there. This is where her bed would have been along the right-hand side. An interesting fact is they used the same interior of the cabin to shoot Brenda's cabin and Jack and Marcy's cabin. Now Alice enters the bathroom. And here's the set that the camp recreated for the tour. We see a shot of Alice and Bill looking for Jack and Marcy. Interesting enough, this is actually the interior of Alice's cabin. This is where Adrienne set up to greet fans on the camp tour.
Now Alice is going to go look for Bill in the generator shed. And there's the outside of the generator shed today. And Alice is inside the generator shed, still looking for Bill. And here we have Adrian being Alice again, looking for Bill 39 years later. And Alice is barricading herself into the main cabin by tying the door. And Chris is trying to do the same thing. Alice wondering what she's going to do. And she would have been standing, the refrigerator would have been in that back corner there, and Savini would have come in that window to the right there.
This is the door that Alice slides open when she goes to get the gun. And this would have been the same area here, except the door has been replaced by garage doors. Now we go to Mrs. V attacking Alice on the beach. And then Alice attacking Mrs. V on the beach. And then the police pulls up to the lake at the end. This would have been a view from the canoe on the lake. And we see our hero Alice in the canoe. And this is Alice 39 years later revisiting that same spot on the lake.
And here we just have a few additional photos throughout the camp that we have taken. Here you see the mountain, the famous mountain in the background there, along with the beach area. And here we have some of the cast coming back again. This is at the diner. Just a little celebration of the 40 years and their return to camp. Now, if you would like to visit this location of Part 1 yourself, visit crystallaketours.com. On there, you can see all information for any upcoming tours. Please remember this is private property, and you are only allowed on the premise during an official tour time.
All the funds raised go to the restoration, rebuilding, and supporting the youth camping programs of the Northern New Jersey Council Boy Scouts of America. I'm Chris Carbaugh, and I'm joined by,
Stacy Lee.
and this is Finding Friday, on location of the Friday the 13th films.
Friday the 13th, Part 2. We start in Waterbury, Connecticut. This is the front of Alice's house. And this is how Alice's house looked. It was recently demolished and is now a vacant lot. When the cat jumps through the window, we get a glimpse of the outside. You can see some stairs and some railing. And Stephen Demmer took these photos of the external shots of Alice's house, and you can see that railing and those steps. Here's a better shot of that from another angle, and that window is actually Alice's kitchen.
Now we move to New Preston, Connecticut. This is where Jeff and Sandra drive up. This is the road as it appears today. Jeff and Sandra pull up in their truck. And if you can see, the rail is still the same there in front of that building. You can see that building in the background. And this is how that building looks today.
And Crazy Ralph comes for another visit here. And that's that building today. Jeff and Sandra are going to race away from that building. That phone booth was actually not there. It was placed there for the film, and that's what that looks like now.
Now the tow truck is towing Jeff's truck, pulls up to the corner with Jeff and Sandra chasing. You can see that same road there. Ted appears out of nowhere to surprise them. Welcome to God's country. And they were playing around right in front of the house there. As you can see, the house as it looks today.
And we get to Packanack Lodge. This was actually located in Kent, Connecticut, and this is what it looked like before it was torn down approximately 10 years ago. This is the cabin where Vicky and Terry shared. And this is that cabin then. This is my friend Nick Lombardo. He shared a couple of pictures. He was able to go on this journey with me. This is the back of Packanack Lodge. And that's the back of what it looked like then. This is directly in front of the porch there where Paul was giving his speech. And you can see the incline there. Right outside there is where they were all sitting. This is the entrance to the Counselor Training Center. And that was the entrance. It was actually called Camp Kenmont. This is the interior of Packanack Lodge. As you can see the stairs there. And there's the stairs today with me looking rather stupid. Through the window there you can see the fireplace and the antlers that stick out from the stone portion of the fireplace. And that's that fireplace inside. There's another shot of that. And the antlers you can see a little better in this photo. This is where Deputy Winslow sees Jason. It's not confirmed, but this was the area that was suggested that might have been where he ran across. Here's the porch of Packanack Lodge. That's a portion of where all the picnic tables would have been set up. It was wintertime when we visited, so the lake was frozen over, but that would have been a shot of the lake. There's another shot of the porch. And me on the porch. When you take these, sometimes you're just excited to be there, so we didn't take a lot of shots without us in them. This is Mark coming out the door to head out on the porch before he gets killed. And that's that porch door leading out to that area. There's a shot of the steps. And there's the steps from the upstairs looking down, pretty much exactly the same. We get to the directly top of the staircase was where Sandra and Jeff were, and there's Jason standing outside. And that would have been a little to the right of that doorway there. This is the bedroom where Jeff and Sandra were killed. And that is that same corner there. The bed would have been directly where it is actually in the photo there. You can see the same grain of the wood. And then Vicky gets killed behind the door there. And here I am behind that same door where Vicky gets killed. You can see how the change in the grain of wood is there, just painted a different color. Here's Vicky being dragged down the stairs. And when in the house, you have to do the same thing.
Last night on the town at the casino. Sadly, this burned down shortly after filming. From what we understand, it was located just past the driveway there.
And when Ginny's running away from Jason, she heads towards the kitchen. That was what the kitchen looked like. It had been completely remodeled. When Ginny's running from Jason through the woods, she runs by another building that looks a little like Packanack Lodge. There was actually a little cottage right next door to the lodge, and you can actually see that when she's running through the trees. And there's a shot of that's the actual cottage. That is not Packanack Lodge. It looks very similar. Here's another shot of the lake, the frozen lake, from the porch. These are just some extra pictures we took to share. These is the back side of the porch and the side of the house. And that is one of the windows over the kitchen. That's another shot of the upstairs. The door to Sandra and Jeff's room would have been right out of camera here to our right. That's a shot of the cottage again. That is actually after the main lodge had been torn down. This house still stood a little longer until they finished. That's the front side of that same cottage.
Here are some photos of the remains and the foundation of the buildings after they were torn down. As you can see, much of it was just rubble. Here's the new construction on the site.
And a new house now stands in the location of where Packanack Lodge was. And from what I understand, there's only one original cabin left from Camp Kenmont.
I'm Chris Carbaugh, and I'm joined by,
Stacy Lee.
and this is Finding Friday, on location of the Friday the 13th films. We now move along to Friday the 13th Part 3. We begin at Harold and Edna's store. Unfortunately, there is not a lot of information on when this structure was removed. In this next shot, we can see the stone wall, which is right next to the store. This is the remains of that stone wall as seen today. The stone wall actually extends well past the store. You can see that a lot of this stone wall actually still remains. Next, you can see the concrete slab at the bottom of the shot here next to the structure. And the concrete slab is actually still there today that you can see. This is a view looking out from the store onto the road. This store was actually located in Santa Clarita, California. And you can see in this photo here, the power lines are still in the right spot that they would have been in the film. Next, we see a view looking down from the road onto where the store would have been. As you can see, this is the outline structure of the store. And then as Chris drives up the road, you can see the incline is still there where the van drove up.
And now we move to Newhall, California, filmed at the Values A Movie Ranch. Sadly, this structure no longer exists. It did burn down in 2006 due to some so-called fans. But this is from the inside of the cabin you'll get to see. My friend Sean Richards actually got us on to this location back in 2005. As you can see, this is when Chris pulls in at the front windows. These are the front windows that Rick looks out of to see the van. When Chris enters, you can see the two doors along with the spiral staircase, which was no longer there. And here you can see the front door that leads to the porch and that second door off to the side there. Chris looks out the window, sees a figure at the barn. Here's a shot of that window.
After Shelley and Vera encounter the biker gang, they head out to their car. This is a view from the store looking outside onto the road. This is actually the Spunky Canyon Market located in Santa Clarita, California. Ollie's standing outside of the market next to the phone booth. Here's a full shot of what the market looks like today. The bikes are actually parked behind the VW in this exact spot. Smile, Ollie. He's looking through the windshield. Now we're looking through our windshield at that shot. As you can see, the VW speeds off down the road. Right down there.
As Jason peers out from the barn here, we get our first shot of that. And here is the barn, which does still stand. Chris and Rick are outside of the house now, right off to the side of the porch and the other side door. And there I am at that side door, and I did bring that fanny pack back a little early. Fox goes into the barn here. Here's a shot of inside the barn. All the stables have been taken out, so it's just pretty much one big open space now. Ollie's going to be pissed. Here's a picture of the loft, the doors, where she swings out from. This is upstairs in the loft. And that is a shot of the upstairs from the bottom of the barn. Ollie looks up. What the hell are you guys doing up there? And there's a shot that where that ladder would have been. Andy and Shelley juggle here right by a window. I'm peering out of that same window. Shelley checks the fire. That's the fireplace. Chuck goes into an outhouse. And we weren't sure. The door was changed, but there was an outhouse on the property, so we took a picture of it. Unsure if it's the same one. Chili goes into the barn. And so does my mother. Vera sits on the dock right outside of the house there. You can see the chimney in the background and the porch. There's the dock. The dock part is still there now. It's a little more beaten up than it is. The lake was actually man-made, so there was no water there at that time. Shelley sits on the porch swing. The porch swing had been moved to the front, but there's the porch swing. Vera walks back down the dock. This is a long shot of the same dock. She walks into the water, again, man-made, so there is no longer any water there. I dropped your wallet. That would be right about where she was. The dock would have been a little to the right there. Jason takes his shot, and so does Chris. This is when Chuck is going to go downstairs to check the fuse box. So you see him open up these doors to go down into a basement. This was what's in those doors. So it was definitely no basement, no stairs. This is the full shot of the house, the cabin that you get to see when the Chris and Rick come back. And there's a full shot of the cabin before it was burnt down. The window was changed upstairs there, but other than that, it still looked pretty much the same. There's a shot from the side. Chris finds Loco hanging from a tree right outside the barn. And it may be a long shot, but we found it very strange that there's still a rope hanging up there. So I had to point that out. As you can see, the barn's in the background there. Chris comes back in the house after she finds the bodies. And there's some more of those window shots. She crawls out one of the windows, and there's the window that she climbs out of. She hides on one of the rafters. And here's some of those rafters inside the barn. Jason is dead. Or is he? It's my friend Sean playing Jason when we got in there. These are just some extra shots I took since this no longer stands. Just some different shots of the house and the barn and the ground. There's a shot from the porch looking out at the barn. There's the windmill that's still standing there, along with the dock to the right there. Another shot of the dock and part of the porch. Another picture from inside the barn and the loft there. More barn pictures. Another shot of the front of the barn through the trees.
We returned to the property in 2010 to take some photos after the cabin had burned down. You can see the frame of the original cabin there. This would have been the front of the house. As you can see, the fireplace is still intact. You can see some bricks there in the front and a longer view of the fireplace. It would have been the cabin facing the barn and some of the foundation of the cabin that's left over. And me walking down the road there, approaching where the cabin would have been. Some stones from the cabin left. The windmill is still there as well. I would have been sitting right on the front porch there. This would have been the fence that goes around the barn.
And it's time to get Chris off to the loony bin. We hope you enjoyed our pictures and our trip down memory lane to the Friday the 13th locations. I hope you enjoyed them as much as we did sharing them with you.
Thank you very much.